Well, take us back to the recruiting process because you're an Ohio guy, so I'm sure you had a lot of opportunities to stay in that area. But then, you eventually go to Penn State. Why was it Penn State? Why was that the best fit for you?
Yeah, I was Ohio State through and through. I mean, my whole family are still Buckeye fans. Even though I went to Penn State, they're still Buckeye fans. I don't get it, but it's okay. It's okay. I was locked and loaded really to go to Ohio State. I really was. I used to watch Ohio State games on Saturday and then watch the replay on Sunday morning. That's how much I loved Ohio State. I was pretty much committed to go there, and then they fired Earl Bruce and they brought in John Cooper. And so the John Cooper hiring was the reason that more importantly, the Earl Bruce firing was the reason I decided to leave Ohio and give some of the other schools a chance. The Michigans, the Michigans, the Notre Dames, obviously Penn State, UCLA was another one that I looked at. But that was the reason I left Ohio, is because of Earl Bruce's firing.
Penn State, what was it about that? I mean, obviously a power in the Northeast. You start off without a conference, eventually go to the Big Ten during your time there. But what was it about Penn State?
You know what? I love the guys there. My visit was great. I had 2 visits there, one unofficial, one official, and they were both just great visits. Of course, you got the great Joe Paterno there as the head coach. Matter of fact, when I came back from my UCLA visit, that Monday morning, I got a FedEx letter. It was a FedEx package from Joe Paterno. It was a letter, 7-page letter from Joe Paterno on spiral notebook paper, talking about the pros and cons of going to Penn State, And he laid it all out for me, man. And everything he was saying is what I was talking about. The opportunity to play baseball was one of those things in there. How we're going to get you. You're going to get your degree. You're going to play some big time football, possibly play for a national championship. He didn't promise anything in the letter, but he laid out what my path could be by going to Penn State, man. It kind of solidified my situation there, man. I just love Coach and what he said to me and what he meant to me and how our relationship grew from my freshman year all the way to my senior year was just incredible, man. And after that, definitely after I was done playing for Penn State, Joe Paterno was still a very important part of my life.
Yeah, you're looking at your progression, your last 2 years, probably your best 2 years. What was it about that? What helped you develop as much as you did to eventually attract the eyes of the NFL?
Yeah, I think Joe kind of changed his mindset a little bit about how they do things at Penn State. I mean, my first couple of years there, we might have thrown the ball in one game like 10 times. Me and Terry Smith, Coach Terry Smith now, we're just blocking. And then, in my class, we had this guy named Tony Sacca. And Tony Sacca was like a top quarterback out of New Jersey. And Joe said, hell, we got to throw the rock. This guy can sling it. So they started putting the ball in the air a little bit more. Then after that, we had Kerry Collins, and we started putting the ball in the air a little bit more. And I think the last 2 years, Joe just adapted, kind of like Don Shula did down here when he had, we had Zonka and Kick and Merk Morris. They ran the ball so much, and Greasy was a quarterback. But then when they got Dan Marino, what'd they do? They started putting that thing in the air because he had the quarterback with the arm. They had the weapons in the Marks brothers. I think the same thing kind of happened. Now, I'm not saying that me and Terry were the Marks brothers, at Penn State, but we had a quarterback that could sling the rock very well for us.
Yeah, and maybe if you don't, do you think maybe you don't get the looks to go to the next level? I mean, again, if Joe Paterno was still running the ball and didn't want to air it out when you were there, maybe you don't get that chance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, and then for us, we had to take advantage of every opportunity. So if you get 5 targets, you better come down with 4 or 5 catches because they were far and few between. And you're right. I mean, without that progression, into, a pass game or basically a more balanced attack, I think we went to, that was key for me for sure. But you know what? Joe did a great job, hopefully recognizing his weapons. After I left, Kijana Carter and those guys were running the ball around the yard again, back to running the football very well. Kerry Collins still throwing it, but they had Bobby Ingram and Freddie Scott. So they had some guys that could still catch it, but they were running the ball a lot more compared to what we were. Joe did a great job, and Fran Ganner, our offense coordinator, did a great job of adapting to the talent and using it to the best of their ability.
I'm sure you've got several games that really stick out in your mind, but take us to the Fiesta Bowl for you. You were the offensive MVP, a win against Tennessee. Is that one of the games when you look back at your career that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, absolutely, because we were there all week with those guys from Tennessee, and they were talking so much trash, man. I mean, from day one, they were talking trash. We couldn't wait to get on the field against those guys, and they got out to a nice little start against us, but then we just railroaded them. I mean, it was like we were so mad coming out. They had this big old barbecue, and they were on stage, and they were talking a lot of trash and what they were going to do to us and this and that. And look, we're Penn State, man. We don't take that lightly. We didn't say much. We just want to show it on the field. And so to be able to go in that game and light them up, it was a lot of fun, man. We scored like, I don't know, 3 or 4 touchdowns in like 8 minutes. It seemed like it was so fast, man. We were just everything was clicking. And before you know it, the game was over, man. And I love the area. So yeah, Phoenix is a great area, and we had a blast kicking their butt there.
Yeah, 42-17, the final score. As you said, you played baseball during your time there as well, and you were drafted. How did you balance that? Because, it's one thing to do it in high school, but this is the highest level of college athletics, playing for Penn State football and then playing for baseball as well.
Yeah, and that was one thing that Joe promised in that letter. I could play baseball. And he said that my freshman spring, I had to play football. So that's what I did. I did spring ball my freshman year. And then depending on my grades and everything else, he'd decide if I could play baseball, in the next, spring. And yeah, grades were good. I did enough on the football field, and he kept his promise, man. I got a chance to go there and play. I just played baseball for those 2 years, a year and a half, really. And it was great. It really was, man. Getting away from football a little bit while those guys were grinding in spring ball. Man, nobody wants to go through spring ball, man. Everybody wants an out from spring ball, especially back then. Nowadays, it's not as tough. But back then, spring ball was it was brutal. Full pads, every day for I don't know how many weeks we were allowed, man. It was crazy. So, yeah, it was great that I had a little break from football, and it made me still hungrier to go back out there and play football. I think that was the biggest thing, kind of like in high school. If I played a sport all year round, you probably get burnt. My kids play baseball down here. I think they got burnt because we played a year round. I think that the fact that I got that break from football gave me that edge going into the fall every single year after that.
Yeah, you gladly go to the baseball diamond to give up spring ball. A lot of people probably would as well.
Right.